Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
This is the first episode of 2024.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. This episode's airing on January 2nd, Tuesday, January 2nd. Usually post on Mondays, but we had Christmas and New Year's both landing on a Monday, so we thought, you know what?
Yankee swap it.
We're just doing a little switcheroo. We're airing them on Tuesdays this last couple weeks.
Yep. Back to the regular Monday schedule next week.
Yep. For the 3 people that are listening, there you go.
Shout out Cole and Mikey.
Oh, that's not true. There's probably more than 3 people.
Yeah, there's at least 6 or 7.
Yeah. Not including our parents.
Yeah, exactly. It's all right.
Or your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your mom's name?
Joan.
Shout out, Joan. What's up?
Shout out Walt.
Walt.
Weekly listeners. Natalie.
Zip.
Sister Natalie.
Zip.
I don't know if Zip listens to it every week.
Really?
He probably doesn't.
No. All right. So let's get back at it.
Yep.
So today we're talking kind of 2 subjects. We're talking hunting resolutions for 2024. And because it's that resolution time of year,
Yep.
so we thought we might as well just go straight to what we really are thinking about, which is hunting all the time.
New slate, baby.
Yep. So hunting resolutions for 2024 and or looking back at 2023.
Yep.
So I think we go look back first
I agree.
and then do resolutions after that.
I agree.
Okay. So we got a couple questions that we're going to answer.
Yep.
A little rapid fire.
Yeah.
I like the questions.
I do too. I think they're great. I think it really encompasses the whole season.
The last time we did the hunting questions, they were way more based around like sports analogies. I couldn't fit that into these.
Nah.
But it's okay.
Nah.
All right. So let's just jump right in. First question, looking back at 2023, top 3 hunts of the year.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
So I put all of turkey season of last year just because that was my first year, like actually really kind of hitting it hard.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot from the turkey hunting side, and it was super fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And it helped too that we had an insane season. We're seeing some really cool stuff like the entire time. And I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm addicted yet, but I'm getting really close. Because I've been thinking about it a lot lately.
Well, and it was funny because before the season started, I kind of told you, I'm like, yeah, if you follow me around during turkey season, we're probably going to see some neat stuff because that's what turkey hunting is.
Yeah.
There's just not much of it that's not pretty action-packed when you really start to get like under 30, 20 yards from them.
Yeah.
And then especially just bow hunting and or trying to hunt with the kids, it's trying to get them close.
Yeah. Yeah, and that part was super fun too, going with Jetty and Bobo, and it was all just really, really fun. And I think that was the thing that like we've kind of talked about this year during deer season. It's like, man, it's just crazy. It just feels so much more laid back, and
it is way more laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, laid back, especially in the fact of you don't have to as much be thinking about all the scent control. And it's just a different thing. And I don't know what it is. I feel like spring turkey hunting is, one of my favorite times of year.
Yeah.
Just when everything starts waking back up from the winter and the trees start to bud, and it's like most of the winter you're not really going out and seeing sunrises. It's not like you're hunting like you are in the fall.
Yeah.
It's dark a lot. You know what I mean? It's kind of dreary. And man, when you get those really pretty spring days.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, this last spring was actually really cold.
Yeah, it was.
We had a lot of cold weather.
Yeah, we were talking about that when we were hunting with Jetty because I told you, I'm like, this, just like the smell of the blind and like the heater. You're like, heater? Like, dude, it was cold. We brought the heater a lot last year. We were just kind of.
We did. I mean, I remember last year was the first time I think even really getting into the later part of the year that we were still wearing kind of cold weather gear.
Oh, yeah.
It was just kind of chilly.
Yeah.
It was a chilly year. And that's kind of the tricky thing about youth season. The youth season's nice because you get to get out there first.
Yeah, but it's
usually
can be cold.
But you can get some really cold days.
Yeah.
But and it was, when I think back about the turkey season, I just think it's funny because you were just like, the whole thing of all I want is just one to come in. And I'm like, all right, just hold on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took a couple hunts.
Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of catch them in that right window.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes they'll just march right in, and then other times they'll just get real finicky.
Yeah, and then like we had like 3 hunts in a row that were just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know. We had like a really cool couple of hunts right there that were just back to back to back. And it's like, I honestly don't know if I'll ever forget that just because it was my first really true experience with it, growing up a hardcore bow hunter, and I just never turkey hunted. Yeah. And so when I finally got to experience, I'm like, oh man, like it's really fun. I still think deer hunting takes a cake, but like to be able to have that type of action and get your heart going like that in the spring, it was so fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Right. What's your number 2?
Number 2, I put Montana. That trip was just a really good time. You know, me and Cole were, both filming, which was kind of fun. We were looking back at footage every night, and staying in the wall tent was a really cool experience. And then the hunting was insane. Yeah. I mean, to experience elk like that was...
Well, especially after we had hunted in Idaho and just had kind of a pretty tough hunt.
Right.
We were there early.
Right.
And the elk just were not bugling.
Yeah.
And they just weren't really that fired up yet.
Yeah.
And then to go to Montana, and it was just like flip the switch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that was the epitome of elk rutting activity.
Yeah. And I mean, Montana is just a beautiful state too, so it was really cool to be there for that. And so you got that mixed with having Cole there also filming. It was kind of fun to kind of bounce ideas off each other, look at each other's footage. That was pretty sweet. And then, like I said, I mean, to experience elk like that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
So,
yeah. And that was such a killer spot. I mean, what those guys have going on there.
Yeah. And Lance and Ryan were just awesome too. So, yeah, it was a really fun trip.
Yeah. Number 3.
Number 3 was our encounter with old number 9.
Oh, on the public spot.
On the public spot, yeah. I don't know why, but that was just... I just always think back to that hunt because
I think your recollection and experience during that and mine are completely different.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Cole was sitting there like cool, calm, and collected, just like hanging out, and I'm just losing my mind.
Well, the backstory to that is that most of the season, right? Like, it's like hard when we're trying to film it. And so it just, a lot of times in situations, it just was easier. We're just to bring one bow and then you're running the camera. But like a couple of the days we're like, you know what, let's just like, there's an opportunity here where, or like some of the spots, like I just have permission for, you know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yep.
And so it's like we were hunting on this public spot and the way that the setup was in the tree, it's like, you know what, like, let's just, and it was on a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, you know what, let's just bring your bow. Like, I know it's going to be a lot more crap to mess around with, but like we'll finagle it around.
Yeah.
And so we hung another bow rope and like you pulled your backpack up, or I got the tree stand set, and then you pulled your backpack up, and then we both were kind of like cussing it along the way.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot.
It was like one of the most claustrophobic.
Oh, yeah.
Because like everywhere you moved, you were bumping into a bow, and then that bow was bumping into.
The bows were crisscrossed, and it was just like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But then
I think at one point I was like, should I just put my bow to the ground?
Yeah, yeah. I do remember that. You're like, I don't even know. I'm like, oh no, let's just wait.
Yeah, we'll make it.
And the way you were sitting is I was sitting, let's say at 12 o'clock, and you were sitting at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
But where the deer were going to come out was at like 9 or at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep. So if, anyway. And so then just so happened that there was this one buck. We had all these bucks on camera.
Yeah.
Well, number 9 was a deer that you were definitely wanting to shoot. But for me, I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, kind of borderline.
Yep. I was like, kind of holding out, looking for something a little bit bigger, more mature, whatever.
Yeah.
Like a year older, whatever. And so I was, well, then of all things, number 9 steps out.
Yeah.
Well, again, and I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, hey, and I looked at it and like, for whatever reason, you can just, when you see him, you're like, that's number 23. That's number 6. That's number 9.
Because all I do is stare at the pictures all day long.
Yeah. So right away, I looked at him and then I let you look at my binoculars, and you right away are like, that's number 9.
Yeah.
And I just said it kind of nonchalant. I was like, well, hey, like, do you want to shoot it? And you're like, can I? I'm like, yeah, man, like, hand me the camera. Well, from the time he handed me the camera and I got on the deer and you picked up your bow, your blood pressure went from normal 60 beats per minute to like 125. You were full throttle, adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
Here we go, baby. You were buck fever and terrible.
It was so crazy.
And he was still like,
oh my,
he wasn't even committed.
We didn't even get remotely close to getting a shot at this deer. Not even remotely close.
He was still like 100 some yards away, but he was kind of walking towards us.
Yeah.
and your mind was going straight into left field, La La Land.
Guarantee I would have missed him if he walked by.
I remember just sitting there, and I could hear you huffing, and I'm like, I kind of looked over, I was like, "Are you okay?" And you're like,
I remember sitting down, and I'm like, "Dude, I've never been so shook up." But it was just, there was so much adding up to that because it was my first time having any cameras in Iowa, and I was super excited. It was like every night it was just like, oh my God, look at these bucks. And it was just, as a kid from Wisconsin, first year really hunting, I was just so excited. And you are right. I mean, we had a lot bigger bucks on camera, but for some reason, I just really wanted to shoot number 9. I think it was because it was like the first good one that we had on camera, really.
Yeah.
And like,
he was kind of showing up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was showing up.
Yep. And so I remember telling you too, I'm like, even if a 190 walks out, or even if a 190 shows up, number 9's still my guy. And of course, that's the one that steps out. That was such a fun hunt. And that was the hunt too where we filmed that double main beam buck too.
Yeah,
it just
came
right in,
walked right underneath.
And it was 2-3 minutes after when he came out. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna do the same thing. He's gonna walk right to that scrape, and I'm just gonna pinwheel him. Then it didn't happen. But that was, I don't know, that when I look back, that's a hunt that it was just a really fun hunt.
Yeah, you I'll never forget that. You were just, and at first, after the fact, and I remember when I got home like that night, I told Tatum, I was like, well, I'm like, it's weird because, I mean, I thought you got excited about when you were filming, and you got excited, but you weren't even close to excited. I could tell you were way more excited about that. When you had the bow in your hand, you were losing it.
Well, I mean, that was the first time I grabbed a bow in 2 years.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. So it's like, come on, baby.
Yeah.
No, that was super fun. That was, and it's just like, not even just the cameras, but we've talked about this on the podcast before. That's a spot that I majorly overlooked. Mm-hmm. And then Cole's like, no, you should go check it out. So I scouted it a couple times, walked through it, and it's kind of weird to say this, but like that spot is like, for some reason, starting to feel kind of special to me. And it's like kind of weird because I didn't even really find it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you have taken a lot of ownership of it, which is fine. I mean, it's public land.
No, I know, but it's weird though, because I think about that all the time. I'm like,
it does seem like that spot has like really grown on you.
Yeah.
Because even like after work, like you'll just go and drive by it.
Yeah.
It's
just weird.
You're like, hey, I'm gonna go for a drive. I know right where you're gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's other spots to drive by.
Yeah.
That's where you go.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's weird that I think it just goes back to just kind of being like the first kind of, I guess you could say, spot. And I've said this to all my buddies all the time. I'm like, I can't take any credit for this because I'm like, my coworker Cole is gracious enough to just tell me about this spot. But for some reason, I think just because it's the first spot that I went and scouted, first spot I put cameras up in Iowa, I just have a weird attraction to it. And
I think it's too because you did overlook it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, man, like I would go look over here. Like I would go check this.
Yeah.
And then you went out there and it was
just tore up.
It was incredible sign.
Yeah.
And it even seemed the sign that you saw was better. I mean, it was roughly almost the exact same spots. The scrapes were in the same spots where it's like, hey, this is where I had, and that's where there was a big one, and then down there was there. But it was, yeah. I mean, it had been years since I had hunted it, and it just seemed like the deer just got older.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, how many bucks are we at now?
47.
47.
Yeah.
That's insane. And even some of the deer that you've seen driving by that you don't have on camera for sure.
Yeah, there was.
And we've only got a couple cams within a couple 100 yards of each other.
Yeah.
On a piece where you could put probably a ton more cameras and get a bunch of different deer. Yeah. It's just insane.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, and it just goes back to, again, when this podcast is airing, it's been a couple weeks since this episode airs, but with that Midwest Whitetail episode that just came out.
Yeah.
I'm just spacing his name. I'm sorry.
Chad Holmes.
No.
Caleb Griner.
Caleb. When you've kind of showed me some of the highlights and some of it that I've watched, this thing that really, the chord that really struck for me and that I was like, yep, I 100% agree with that is, deer just need what they need.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't, it could be a dredge ditch. It can be just a tree line. It could be a fence line.
Yep.
If they've got cover and they've got food and they've got water, they've got everything they need.
That's all they need.
That spot,
it's kind of the epitome of that.
Yep.
I'd say.
Yep, it is.
I think the one thing that's different is it's just so big.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying with, like Cole was just saying that I just drive out there every once in a while. Like a couple of weeks ago, I drive out there and there's just probably like 150-inch 10-pointer just standing on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Never had them on camera. I'm like, just makes you think like how many are actually really out there. It's a really cool spot.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yep. And like I said, I think that, yeah, that kind of goes into our New Year's resolutions, but
yeah. Well, I do have a quick question for you. What was your thought process on hunting that spot again and getting back onto that? Was that kind of cool for you to kind of get back into a little bit and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or was it kind of like a weird feeling?
I had reservations.
Yeah.
Just because what I was afraid of is, it's public land.
Yeah.
And so, there's obviously deer hunters, there's pheasant hunters, there's duck hunters, there's all these other people that are trying to take advantage of the resource too. You know what I mean? And so, that's the tricky thing is like what I had seen with it in the past is what I always got really frustrated by is like right when it got super like, here's the prime time, I would run into other hunters.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the caveat of public land.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what to expect going into it because I had, when I kind of, it was funny, I didn't stop hunting it because it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Because it was really good, but I just had an opportunity to get a couple permission pieces that were really good.
Yeah.
And with the landowner that I had, I was like, hey, he had depredation tags and I was trying to shoot a lot of deer.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of took up all my time.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, the last year that I hunted it, I had a stand that I think got taken down because I just forgot about it. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh crap, I forgot about that. And I went out there in like May after the shows and it was gone. And I'm like, oh, like the DNR just took it down.
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
And it was like, oh, okay, well that's my own fault. You know? But yeah, I mean, it was a really crazy feeling.
Yeah.
And, and it's that's a really good question. I don't know how I want to answer that.
Yeah. Because like it was funny for me too. Because part of me, I almost had like a little bit of guilt in me a little bit because it just felt weird. Because I knew that it was a spot that meant a lot to you. You shot a great buck out there. You hunted there for years.
Yep.
And so that's why it truly does mean a lot that you showed it to me and
because that buck that I shot there that was in the fall. That was in the fall of 2016.
16, yeah.
That was the first fall that I worked at Ozonics.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. That was in the fall of 2017 because I had a compound. That was the first fall I started shooting a compound again. And that's, But yeah, I mean, it's that's a cool spot. And like I said, the biggest thing I wish is I just wish we could have tracked down one of those big guys.
Yeah, I know, dude.
And then kind of towards late when all of a sudden he showed back up on camera. And then that day I snuck out there.
Yeah.
And he was in there. I mean, he was in there.
Yeah.
But just didn't walk out, but
yeah.
It was a cool feeling. And I think what I think is going to be fun as we move forward is I think that, the experience that we have with it now, we're definitely going to, adjust how we do things.
Yeah. 100%.
But that's even interesting too. Like the DNR have been out there and they cut a bunch of brush down.
A ton of stuff.
Yep.
It looks totally different now.
Yep. And it'd be interesting to see what they do in the off season.
Yeah. 100%.
Because if they do certain things, it's going to make it really tough to hunt certain spots.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was an interesting feeling. Like I said, and that was the thing I kind of kept trying to tell you is like, I didn't want you to feel guilty about it because it is public spot.
Yeah.
And my biggest ask was that you just didn't tell anybody.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
It's like, hey, like
don't be blowing it up online or anything.
It's like the unwritten rule, right?
It's like exactly. Yeah.
I'm showing you this, but you don't show the next guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, and like we had this conversation a lot because eventually it'll just snowball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So. Well, and it's funny, we kind of saw that with another spot that I hunt, a public spot that I used to hunt when I was in college, when I went to Iowa State.
Yeah.
It's down off the Des Moines River.
Yeah. Hadn't
hunted that in a few years. And again, when I used to hunt that was pre-cell cams. And then we went in there, we just so happened we had to be down in Des Moines, stopping at the distribution place. And I was like, well, hey, let's just sneak out there on the way back.
Yeah.
And that that was
dude, there was like
cell cam. And then my brother-in-law and his dad hunted it. His dad shot a great buck, and then he was like looking to do some doe hunting.
Yeah.
And he's got some time off work. So he was like, and I said, yeah, just go check this spot out. He went down there, and I heard from my brother-in-law afterwards, like, yeah, that's not like it was before. It sounds like,
Yeah.
he's like, because I never saw anybody out there,
Yeah.
like not a single person. Like
Yeah.
I saw one guy, like never saw stands, never saw cameras, like never saw anything. Like it was like, I felt like I had the whole place to myself.
Yeah.
Like it was insane.
Well, yeah, and it was funny too.
And then he said, he was like, oh yeah, there's like a lot of cars in the parking lot. I ran into a whole pile of people. Like it's just funny how it's changed.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it was funny too. Right when we got there that day, there was like beer cans laying in the parking lot. It's like, it seems like there's some human pressure.
Yeah, cut straps.
Yeah.
Then I didn't want to, and then I just like can't let it sit there. So I'm like picking it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay. And you could tell it was like a buckle strap or a tree stand strap. Somebody just like cut and just like left it. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. There's definitely cams, and it was definitely a little different.
Yeah. Oh,
but, yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What was some of your favorite memories?
Yeah, hunts? So I tried to keep it to 3, but I actually probably have 4.
Yeah. Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
But,
we'll work around it.
Yeah. My number one hunt from 2023 was definitely Jet shooting that deer during youth season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just because I felt really a lot of pressure with that, just because we were in Montana when youth season opened.
Yep.
And it's youth season is a little chunk of time, but it's not forever.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is Iowa allows you, if you don't get a deer during youth season, you can use that tag during the other seasons, but Jet's not able to, he could pull a bow back, but he can't really hold it up very well. So he's not bow hunting yet.
Yeah.
So I felt like youth season was our opportunity.
Yeah.
And then we got back and we started to try to hunt, and it just seemed like couldn't make the right choice or right decision, or they were just kind of fooling us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever reason. And, sometimes I think that's good, because I think it's great that Jet's experiencing
100%
it not working out, because he shot a pile of turkeys, right? He shot 2 turkeys when he was 4, 2 when he was 5, 2 when he was 6.
Yeah.
And he's just had some pretty good luck.
Yeah.
And that first year it was like, go out, shoot him. Like he had just worked out. And the second year it was kind of the same thing. This last year was a little bit more, he had to hunt a bit harder, and we had a couple hunts that didn't work out, and then it kind of came together.
Yeah.
But with deer season last year, he did have a couple that didn't work out, and then it came together. But I mean, I know he thinks about it just as much as I do, it seems like.
Yeah.
I knew he really wants to get out there and get one.
Yeah.
So then when he goes out and he doesn't see one, it just breaks my heart when he kind of gets sad.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's a teachable moment. So you're like, buddy, it's okay. Like sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't, but it still just like pulls on you. Makes you want to try even harder to get one. So when it came together, and even that morning, we were like, you know what? Let's just try this. Like we sat in the woods, we were sitting along the edges of these fields, and I got into a couple other spots, just couldn't get it to work out. Deer just weren't cooperating.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just try this. And the cams weren't really helping us at that point for whatever reason. Like the bucks had shed their velvet, and the does were just kind of still doing their summer. Like they weren't really like marching out in and out anywhere particular.
No.
And so we got up in the woods that day, and Jet was adamant about wanting to sit in a tree stand. So, and so it just worked out. Yeah. And then the cool thing too, I feel like that kind of felt like a turning point a little bit for you and I trying to film stuff. You know what I mean? Just in, getting to know each other a bit, and how we each like to hunt and how we are. Yep. And then, and it was a little bit of a cluster, and Jet really did a good job.
Oh yeah, he did. It was awesome.
He really is. He's really, really patient, and you can tell he doesn't have that like pressure, like that kind of like hits you as you get older, and the moment. Yeah. He just really stays locked in, and made a heck of a shot. Yeah.
And I can tell that he really understands handling the gun, what he's supposed to do in the moment, which is so huge at, what is he, 7 now?
7. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's so huge as a young hunter, to be able to understand everything. And it all goes back to having him shooting turkeys when he was 4 years old. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it's super cool to see, just because I know when I was 6 or 7, I didn't have that opportunity. So it almost feels like he's even ahead of me.
I know.
It's really cool.
I just had that conversation with my brother-in-law Justin the other day. I'm like, man, these kids are way ahead. Like his boys and Jet.
Yep.
Because they've just done a lot more hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was 7, I don't even remember what I was doing when I was 7.
Yeah.
I wasn't hunting yet.
Yeah.
I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
I remember going to the Iowa DNR had, I think they still have them, but you can go to like in-field classes, hunter education class. I remember going to that and then be like, okay, now I get to go hunting.
Yeah.
But I was a bit older than I am, than Jed is now.
Right.
So yeah, it was, and it was just really rewarding to be able to get it all on video.
Yep.
That's, I think, what I really enjoy about the video part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's been special for us to be able to share that with people that are watching this and listening to this, and just the customers and viewers of, the Ozonics, Killerwinds, things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Is just the fact that it's just really neat to kind of share that moment and kind of show who we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you would look at the analytics of the YouTube, that video, the views keep clicking up, and that's probably me. Because I'll get on there every once in a while and just watch it. Because it's just really fun to be able to share that and then show, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, people that normally wouldn't get to understand or what we're doing and stuff.
Yep.
So that's kind of, I think, definitely my number one. In no particular order, the next 3 are all pretty close together. Actually, just had a really cool hunt with Jet last weekend.
Yeah.
It was second shotgun season. He had a second shotgun state tag.
Yep.
And had hunted him a couple times the first weekend, and just, again, cat mouse, wrong place, right time, right place, wrong time.
Yep.
And we had a bunch of rain.
Yeah.
And it was like, gosh, are we even able to get out? I had a terrible east wind, but I had this spot I call behind the house where I had a camera, and it's like, it's this little kind of honey hole where these deer kind of will hang out, and they kind of feel comfortable close to this house. I don't feel like they get bothered much, which they don't. And so, but we had an east wind, which was completely wrong, and it was going to switch to north and west as the day went on.
Yep.
So we got out there. Right about when we got out there, I got a trail cam pic of a doe and a yearling on the camera.
Yeah.
So where we wanted to go was going to be within 100 yards of them.
Yeah.
100, 150 yards. It's like, gosh, we will even sneak in there. And I really kind of waited to where we got the wind right or better. We were going to have the HR 500 with us and get it in the blind, and I did the best I could to carry it on the way in, but I'm carrying everything else, trying to hold Jet's hand.
Yeah.
It was just a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like adamant with John. I'm like, buddy, we got to walk super quiet. You got to be super just really watch where you're stepping. We had to kind of walk down this dike, which it was really slippery and muddy, and he did a great job with that. And then handed me everything in the blind. Popping up a hub style ground blind can be pretty loud if you're not careful. And so you're trying to pop them really quiet. We got everything all set up. And then sure enough, a couple hours later, here walks out this doe and yearling. But it, of course, came completely to the wrong side. Yeah. And Jet, I have a bog pod death grip tripod that I use, got the gun off the tripod, sat on the ground, held the gun, got it out the other window. Jet had to completely turn to the right when he's right-handed, and then get out the window and got on the deer. It was quartering to us a bit. He made a great shot for the situation. It just dropped it. Yeah. Little button buck. Yeah. So of course, Jet's like, oh yeah, second button buck of the year, So he's all jazzed up. Yeah. But so that was really, really fun. Yeah. And just and all he wanted to do was shoot a deer, and I knew he wanted to get one so bad. Oh yeah. And even like I showed you that video on my phone, you can hear him. We walked back up this little hill, this dike to get on this little 2-track. And he said, yeah, it's like a mountain in Alaska, Yeah. It's like, just funny how that's how his mind works. Yep. So that was pretty special to get that deer. And there's some pretty fun pictures like that I took right where the deer was laying. And he's got this Henry lever action that I got him for Christmas last year, and he's holding that gun, and it's pretty cool. Oh yeah. We'll post some of those pictures. They look pretty neat. Yeah. So that's a good number 2. Personally, like for myself, I say, my number 3 or my personal number 1 would be Alaska Dull Sheep. So kind of something that I had been working on for a few years here. This last year got my assistant guide license in Alaska. Yep. So what that means is years and years ago, now it's been 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of made this real personal decision. I'm like, you know what? I really want to shoot a dull sheep. Yeah. And I kind of had this idea at the time. I was like 34, 35. I'm like, I really want to shoot a dull sheep by the time I'm 40. Like, I really want to do this. I'm like, So I started scratching it all out. Like, how do I make this happen? Right. I'm looking at, at the time, what the market going rate for Dall sheep hunts were. And I'm like, okay, and how much can I try to save per year? And then if I got a second job, if I, literally I got a second job as a FedEx driver, on the weekends, like, okay, if I do that Saturdays and Sundays for this many months, this many years, how much can I pull off over here? And then if I do this, and, I was like trying to figure it out. And so I had actually a guy an Ozonics customer that I had kind of become friends with from Alaska. And I started looking at outfitters, and one thing led to another. And I said, hey, I'm thinking 4 or 5 years from now, you know what I mean? But, I was trying to figure out if I could talk to an outfitter and get a rate locked in so that even if his prices increased, I got it 4 or 5 years away.
Right.
And I would just kind of pay down on it year after year after year and try to work it out. And so, one thing led to another, and he's like, yeah, man, he's like, I know this guy. And he's like, he's a super trustworthy guy. He's like, I actually pack for him for a season. He guides in a couple different parts of Alaska. He's got a couple concessions. I'll put a word in for you. I'm like, really? He's like, absolutely. He's like, good buddy or nice guy. I'm like, okay. So he did. Well, the guy's name's Mont Mahoney. So he puts a word in. Somehow one thing leads to another. I end up on the phone with Mont. And we get to talking. Mont and I just get to talking. Of course, you know me, I can about talk to a tree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. So my grandpa always used to say, was like, that's why you like bow hunting, because you could talk to a tree. Like, there's probably some truth in that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I get to talking to Mont. I kind of give him my spiel, and then I'm in my mid-30s, and I'd love to try to shoot a Dall sheep by the time I'm 40. And so, like any outfitter does, he was trying to kind of, get an idea of who I was.
Yep.
And so he's like, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And so we started talking about Ozonics, and we started talking about hunting. And I just mentioned in passing, I used to guide in Colorado, and I have some experience and da-da-da with that. And he's like, well, you ever spent any time in Alaska? And I said, well, yeah, I've done 2 DIY moose hunts, and I spent some time on Kodiak Island, did a Sitka black-tailed caribou hunt there. And then I spent some time on Adak Island, on a caribou hunt years ago. So I've been in Alaska a little bit, like, there's a lot of guys done more than that, but that's just what I've been able to work in, and so he's like, oh, cool. And so then one thing leads to another. He's like, well, heck, have you ever thought about, packing or guiding in Alaska? And I had looked into that a little bit. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. I'm like, but maybe, so we get to talking. Well, one thing leads to another. In the state of Alaska, to become assistant guide, you need 60 days in the field.
Yep.
Okay. Of those 60 days in the field of Alaska, 60 of those, within those 60 days, 30 of those days can be your own personal days in Alaska. Well, he said right off the bat, he's like, well, geez, from your moose hunts and your trip Adak, Kodiak, is like, you got to have way more than 30 days. Well, I sketched it out, and I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah, I do. I do have way. He's like, well, if you could get 30 days working for me, he's like, you could get your assistant guide license. And I'm like, well, heck. So then of course, me being obsessive compulsive like I am, I dove down that rabbit hole, and I was never looking at the guiding in Alaska thing as like, I'm going to like do this for a living.
Yeah.
I was just like, it would be a fun way to have a trip paid to go to Alaska.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I was trying to find an excuse to go on a sheep hunt anyway,
regardless.
And it really felt like, from my perspective, I was bigger picture, I'm really obsessed with the North American Super Slam.
Yeah.
But my North American Super Slam is, a lot of it is kind of hunting by default.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and so for me, it's if I hunted it myself, or if I videoed it, or if I guided it.
Yeah.
For me, that species counts.
Yep.
I might not ever get to do a Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep hunt, but I've got to video one. You know what I mean? So, I might not ever get to do a mountain goat hunt, but I got to film one.
Yeah.
So a grizzly bear hunt, got to film one, like guiding some of the stuff that I've been able to guide, or videoing coos deer hunts, or, bop, whatever it might be. So I have been kind of knocking off species over the years. And so I was like, well, heck yeah, this is right up my alley. And I had all the gear. I'd done trips to Alaska. I had all the packs and the boots and the gear that I needed for the most part. There was a couple things here and there. But so then what I ended up doing is in 2021 and 2022, I went up there and packed for 2 seasons.
Yep.
And really packer is just like it sounds. Like you're there to help the client and the guide, and just really do whatever they ask you to do and help pack out meat.
Yep.
Pack in gear, pack out gear.
Yep.
And so I really just tried to go there as a sponge and just really try to absorb as much as I could and learn as much as I could. And a lot of stuff that I read and watched and people that I talked to, everybody seemed like, yeah, get a couple years in the mountains, being around Dall sheep and being around Dall sheep hunting and being around guides and outfitters to really understand and to be able to, it's not only just to be able to understand like what you're doing, how to stay safe, how to judge the sheep, how to kill the sheep, how to get the sheep out of there. There's a lot to it.
Oh yeah.
And you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about a client, and there's planes involved and there's logistics involved and there's weather involved, and it's just a lot.
Oh yeah.
And so, and Mont was gracious enough to sponsor me, right? Or you have to have an outfitter that's willing to say, hey, this guy isn't going to put somebody in harm's way.
Right.
And so he was willing to do that for me. And so I got my days. So I got my 60 days in the 2 seasons. And then this last year, in 2023, this past August, I went up there and I guided.
So awesome.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets me pretty excited.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the guy that I got to guide, his name was Russ. He shot a Dall sheep.
So sweet.
Yeah.
It was so sweet. I was so jacked up when you.
It was pretty cool.
When you somehow got a hold of me. All of a sudden I get a text. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
You're like, ram down. I'm like, what? It's the first day of the hunt, dude.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah. So the interesting thing, and this could be an hour-long conversation.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to give you like super high notes here, or just give a little bit of background so what I was trying to explain made sense. But yeah, no. So the way Mont does it, he tries to go in earlier, and because he has concessions, which means it's all national forest, but there's these areas that the state says, okay, you can be the outfitter that can hunt on this area. So it's called a concession. So he has a concession in the Wrangels. He also has a concession in the Alaska range. The Alaska range has really gotten hit really, really hard. Some bad winters, and the sheep numbers are down. Sheep numbers are down on a lot of parts of Alaska.
Yeah. And
so he hunts the Wrangels, that concession, also. And so that's where I've been these last 3 years. And yeah, it was pretty insane. Yeah. And just all of it getting to come together. And we went in early, like you said, to try to, because again, it's public land, so other people can go there, right? It's not like, so if there's residents that want to hunt that area, in Alaska, it is a big place, but in the same regard, it's a cub ride away from being accessible. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which a lot of the world is becoming that way. You know what I mean? Whether that's Canada or Alaska, that's a whole other conversation. But so his idea is go in there a little bit early and try to kind of scout out some spots and kind of stake your claim to this drainage or this drainage or this mountain or whatever we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So we go in there a bit early. So we went in there about a week early and just tried to scout. And so that's even in that is just a real trick because it's, sheep hunting, it's more chess rather than checkers.
Yeah.
It's really just strategically kind of moving in. They have unbelievable eyesight. They don't put up with guff. They really don't. So you're trying to just be out of sight, out of mind, but you're trying to scout them and get an idea and find a legal ram.
Yeah.
I mean, finding a legal ram, that is the whole idea, right? But that can be a trick,
Oh yeah.
And so, fortunate enough, a couple days before season, we spotted a band of rams and then just kind of kept moving in on them. And we were a mile away, and then we were 1,000 yards away. And then on opening day, we just kind of had an idea where they were going to be, and we made our move. We had the thermals right and got up on this edge of this little point. And there was this big bowl around to where these sheep hopefully were going to come back where they had been. And it was like, we were sitting there for like an hour and a half, and all of a sudden they just popped up over this ridge. And there they are. Yeah. And then definitely they were within 400 yards. So I put the spotting scope on them and really figured out which one was legal. We found a ram that was called what they call double broomed, which means the lamb tips at the end were broken off. And if they're both broke off, then he's legal. Yep. And so that was the ram that we ended up shooting. This guy, Russ, great guy from Utah, made an unbelievable shot. One shot just dumped him. Yeah. And yeah, it was pretty insane.
Yeah. It's been super cool to talk with you about it because I don't know anybody who has even stepped foot in Alaska. Yeah. Really. I guess my buddy lives there now, but it's been really fun to just talk about that with you and hear about your experiences. It's super freaking cool, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not trying to say any of this to try and sound like I'm bragging because that's not how I am. No. I don't mean it in an arrogant way, or I'm not trying to boast about it.
No,
it's just pretty proud of it. Pretty excited about it.
There's absolutely zero wrong with that.
Yeah, it was really, really fun.
Yeah,
and then it got a little bit Western after that. So we got the sheep. And then you shoot it. That's just the part of it, right? Then you got to go and you got to recover it.
Yeah.
So we had to make this big trek around through this hillside to get over to the sheep. There's not a flat spot on the mountains. You have a hard enough time trying to find a place to put a tent. And this sheep died, and they were obviously bedded up there for a reason. There was this nice lush green grass, and it was a flat spot.
Yeah.
It was like Russ and I were looking at each other like, there ain't a flat spot out here. I'm like, we're standing on a flat spot, a big old flat spot.
Yeah.
So that worked out great. We got some amazing pictures and did everything we needed to do to get it all cut up and boned out and caped out and put away. And it was getting later in the day. It was like middle of the day when we shot it. And all of a sudden and Russ was, and I get it. And it was a little nerve wracking. He's like, hey, we need to get moving. I'm like, I know. But I'm like, we've got good weather and we've got in the back of my mind, I'm like, if we have to end up sleeping out here, we'll sleep out here. It's like, we'll be fine, you know? Well, that actually happened. So we started to climb down and, it's steep country, it's mountains.
Yeah.
So I'd heard, and this hadn't happened to me yet, but I'd heard other guides and packers and guys that are up there talk about you just gotta be careful if you get cliffed out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. I remember I was like, what does cliffed out mean exactly? And I've been on mountain goat hunts where I think we'd probably gotten cliffed out. I just never heard it called that before, And now looking back on it, we definitely got cliffed out a couple times. They didn't call it that. We just hey, we got to turn around. Can't go this way.
Yeah.
But cliffed out means literally you come to a cliff that you can't get down.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but when you're on a real steep grade and then you're looking down at a cliff and you're like, okay, well, if I slip, then I go down the cliff.
Yeah.
It's mentally, it's you're just okay, stay where I'm at. We need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So we started to climb down and I couldn't really find our way and it was dark. It was way after dark now, but the dark there is in the summer is a lot shorter, but it still gets dark.
Right.
And so it was 10, 11 o'clock and it got dark and I found this little seep, a little drainage, little creek that was coming off the mountain. I was like, oh, let's follow that. So we start following that. Well, that was fine for a bit. And then it kind of got steeper. And then I had to kind of make my way down a couple rocks that weren't very fun. And it was starting to kind of get you a little butt puckering, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I told Russ, hey, just hold on a second. Let me just go and look off because I couldn't really see. So I went a little farther and I looked off. And dude, I'll never forget. I remember standing there and I looked off of it. And it was the water. And the water just went off. And in my mind, I was like, what? I kind of looked. Well, dude, it was a 40-foot straight drop. Jesus. I'll never forget. I looked down at my feet and my feet were going like this. They were shaking. And I was and it just all of a sudden rush and hit me. And I was like, whoa, this isn't, it's funny because Scott Elrod of all people, years ago, I was going to Laos on a moose hunt. And he said to me, Cole, because he lived in Alaska. A lot of people don't know that. He grew up in Alaska for a section of time. He said, Cole, number one rule. He's just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Scott. He's like, no, I'm serious. He's think about it. Just in any situation, just ask yourself, is this stupid?
Yeah.
And if it's stupid, he's like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Just get out of there.
Yeah.
He's like, just don't do anything stupid. I'm like, all right. And it's funny. That's great advice.
Yeah.
And I remember watching my feet shake and I remember saying, this is stupid. I remember being like, this is stupid. I'm like, I need to get out of here. And I'm thinking now, I'm like, okay, I'm scared and I'm responsible for him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I told Russ, I was like, I got back kind of off of it and got back to a little bit of a spot where we could sit. I'm like, we had been saving a little bit of food, backpacker meal. We had water right there. I'm like, dude, let's just eat. Let's get a hot meal. Let's eat something. I'm like, we are not getting off this mountain tonight.
Yeah.
And he's like, I remember he's like, we're not? And I'm like, no. I'm like, the safest place for us to be is on the ground.
Yeah.
If we're on the ground, we're not falling. We're not dying.
Yeah.
We're safe on the ground.
Yeah.
So we ate our food. We had to backtrack, climb back up, which sucks, climb back up. We got on this big grassy not flat, but like hillside. And so I had a tarp with me, this little ultralight tarp that I carry, a Helleberg Tarp 5 that I carry. And I have this ice axe that I use that's not really for ice, but it's nice to be able to pick and dig a hole if you have to or whatever. It actually comes in handy a lot. So I use that, and I dug out some spots for us to sleep. I set up the tarp. I moved the sheep meat down the way. I'm like, I don't think there's any bears here, but we had been seeing grizzly bear scat lower, and it's like, I don't know. Thermals are blowing down. If something comes up and smells it, it's at least down there. Like, we'll deal with that in the morning. And we just slept there. We got really cold.
Oh, yeah.
We had to use my jet boil, set up the tripod, and kind of set the tarp up higher just to warm ourselves up during the night. But it was kind of fun. I mean, after the fact, you look back and it was really fun.
Yeah.
It made for an incredible experience.
Oh, yeah. Great story, too.
Yeah. And he didn't have a space blanket. I had mine. So I ended up cutting it open, and I staked it out with rocks to try to not let so much cold air in. We put all our clothes on. Luckily, it didn't rain.
Yeah.
And and then we got down the next day. And then, but yeah, it was a really cool thing.
Yeah,
so
incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So the whole Alaska Dall sheep this last year was something that I'll always be very, very proud of. And yeah,
as you should be. I think there's not a lot of people that can say that they did what you did. It's really cool.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that have a ton more experience and are way more hardcore and everything else when it comes to it. But like I said, I felt like the entire trip, my idea was I was just trying to make the right decisions the best I could every single time, and just okay, let's make a right decision here. Let's make a right decision here, and you just kind of try to keep doing that.
Yeah, and
then hopefully that adds up to success, and it did. Yeah. So it worked out good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Enough about that. My other, and I know this is taking a long time, but my other top hunt makes number 4 is getting to see that buck on that public piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun morning.
Yep. Just because we had scouted that earlier in the summer. And again, I think the idea of the public spots that we hunted this year really came out of the necessity that, you were so excited to get your Iowa residency.
Yeah.
And the spots that I had were like permission spots that I had permission for. And I didn't really know if I was going to be able to let you on, or I didn't even know if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
I didn't really know you that well.
No,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? I didn't really know you that well.
Yeah.
I mean, so I was, and then I got to know you. I'm like, okay, you're an okay guy. So then it was, So it was like, okay, well, where can you hunt?
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, I just started going through the Rolodex of what spots that I have in the back of my mind, or spots that I had hunted or thought about. And this is a spot that we've talked about this on podcasts before that I had looked at for turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And then went out there and was like, this is a dino deer spot. Like, what am I thinking here?
Yeah.
And so we went back in there again and really put the boots on the ground and checked it out.
Yeah.
And it looked just even better than it did before.
Yeah.
And then went in there, put a camera in there, went in there when it was the right time, when the season was close enough, and put a stand in there. And we're like, okay, we're gonna hunt this when we start to get deer on camera. And it wasn't but like 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
Here shows up.
Nice big buck.
Nice buck that we were way willing to shoot.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, look at that deer.
Yeah.
And then he showed up again, and then he kind of showed up again. And it's like, okay, this is where he's living, This is within his core home area.
Yep.
And then we went out there on that late October day.
Yep.
It was a little cold that day.
It was actually a pretty good cold front, I think.
Yeah, that was when we got that cold front.
Yeah.
And it was like the pre-rut was really like that cold. We really felt like it was going to just kind of snap everything in. Mm-hmm. And man, did it ever snap it in. Mm-hmm. And to see that deer on the hoof and right there, I mean, we actually had an encounter with him a couple days before that, walking in.
Yeah.
He walked right by the camera, and the camera from where we walk in is 30, 40 yards away. There he was on the camera, and then we bumped him. We looked at the time of when we bumped whatever deer it was, and it was it had to be him. Walked right by the camera. 2 minutes later, there we were.
Yeah.
And to see him on the hoof like that, on an overlooked spot like that was, and still is.
Yeah.
That
cool.
was really...
It's kind of rewarding. A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, in the back of my mind, it was bittersweet.
Yeah.
It was really sweet to see him. It was a little bitter in the fact of when it didn't work out.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like in Iowa or in a lot of types of hunts, you're really counting on one opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's all you're really, really trying to get is one opportunity.
Yeah.
And I felt like in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I hope that's not our only opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know? And that was, now looking back, thus, it's been the only opportunity and the only time we saw him.
Yeah.
And it felt like that was right before he was really going to start ranging out a lot more.
Yep.
And then we haven't ever got him on camera again.
Nope.
And and we didn't bump him that day.
No.
And then actually, that was a crazy thing. So I had to leave, right? Where was I going?
I
had to go to a Shields thing.
Yeah, you went to a Shields thing.
Yeah. I went to Omaha.
Yeah.
And then
I went back out there.
Yeah, you went out there that night.
And I saw him again.
Yeah.
It was way dark.
Yeah, but still.
Literally the exact same spot.
He walked into that tree line after we saw him.
Yep.
He walked right back out.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. That was super cool to see him that night too. Just because it was like a perfect night. I saw a pile of deer.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just a matter of time now. He's going to come out. There's no way he's not. And it, like I said, it was like a perfect night, not a cloud in the sky. Like it was just really enjoyable sit. And it got dark. I'm like, well, time to start packing up. And, with no clouds in the sky and moon was shining real bright. And just in the moonlight, I could just see him up on top of the hill.
Right there.
Yeah. It was really something to see him again.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Man, that is a heck of a deer.
To see just a cranker twice in one day.
And I just sit here with my fingers crossed, like, please make it through.
Yeah, exactly.
Please make it through.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine that guy next year?
Huge.
Can you imagine any of these big deer that we were looking at this year, if they make it through?
I don't even want to think about it.
I don't even want to, I'm afraid 33 is going to go down the other side.
He's probably going to start dipping.
Jeez. That deer. Oh my goodness, that deer is just so big. There's a lot of big deer. Anyway, all right, let's get back to it.
Insane.
I know. We're gonna go straight down up.
We're about to dive off the deepest rabbit hole known to man.
Yeah, let's just avoid it. We're
gotta,
standing at the edge.
Just keep rolling. Hey,
back away. We're getting cliffed out here.
Yeah, don't do anything stupid.
Yeah. All right. Things you want to forget from the season.
I want to forget the hunt that Cole just talked about.
Oh, yes, you do.
Worst morning of my hunting career ever.
Yeah, and that was a bittersweet, smelly morning, if we were really being honest.
Yeah, that one hurts really bad.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Super embarrassing.
It's just a speechless moment.
You just can't say anything about it, really. It's just like especially after the year that we had, it makes it hurt a little bit more. Because I feel really bad about it. But it's like, I don't know. I always think about control what you can control what you can control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
dude, here's the thing. I'd be the first to tell you, dude, and this is too much information for the podcast. And please don't make a microclip out of this. You might have to delete this section. Dude, there was one time, and I'll keep it as let your imagination take where you needed to go. I was hunting out of a climber, and I had to go.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get down.
Jesus. Yeah, but that situation would have been better.
It probably would have been. And you know what? Looking back, maybe that's what I'll have you do next time. Just go. Just go.
Yeah, just cut a little slit in my saddle.
Just pop a squat and just let her, just drop her. But I'm telling you, listen, my point is like, I've had to go to the bathroom too, right? Like all of a sudden I've been walking out there and just been like, that's why I always carry a little thing of Kleenexes, little travel Kleenex thing, always in the bottom of my bag. Cause sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
You don't mean to. I mean, you hunt long enough and you eat in enough gas stations and Casey's or Quick Stars in the morning and you're going to have some garlic parm wings or some broccoli cheddar bites or biscuits gravy for Casey's, which by the way are the greatest thing known to man. And
not sponsored.
Yeah. One of them is just going to not sit right.
Yeah.
It's going to be honking for the right of way.
And I don't know.
It just so happened that it hit you that day.
Yeah.
Real bad at the worst possible time.
Yeah, it was really, really horrible.
But the reality, oh man, I can't. The thing that I was thinking about the other day too is what about if that buck would have stepped out?
Oh, and came walking down?
Yeah, while you had to go so bad. No, What I'm saying is you're sitting in the stand, you were physically sweating because you had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You were trying to just, no pun intended, gut it out.
Yeah.
Imagine if that deer would have stepped out, what would you have done?
I would have had to just
poop your pants.
Yeah, probably. It was like, I'm not kidding, it was getting close to that point.
Yes, I know. I've thought about that a lot. Like, what would you have done?
It was, oh my gosh, it was one of the worst feelings ever.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that. We could cut that turd a million ways. Oh.
All right. My next hunt that I want to forget is when I missed.
You have two. I forgot. You have two.
That's what I missed the same deer 3 times.
I'm sorry to laugh. Oh,
it's so bad.
See, I think again, it's just like the whole UC in number 9, and I was kind of just like, hey, cool and calm, and you were freaking out. This, I think we both have. You want to forget it, and I'll never forget it. The best was when you called me. I'm out of arrows.
It was so bad.
Even the crazy thing is you carry 6 arrows in your quiver.
Broadheads are expensive.
I let you borrow some.
After the fact.
Note to self, don't carry 6 unless you're going to put broadheads on them.
Well, I knew that I wasn't going to be doing a lot of hunting, so I'm like, there's no sense in spending $100 on broadheads.
Yeah.
And it's like, how many times are you going to shoot? It's just
3, I guess. You pitched that one up like a softball that time.
Oh gosh.
Oh, all right. Let's just move on. I understand why you want to forget it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the thing that I want to forget from 2023 as a whole is how many cat and mouse games we played. Give me a break.
It was
unbelievable. Like, you know, the old adage, trail cams save more deer's lives than kill them. That kind of hit us a bit.
Yeah.
You know, like you use cell cams for the intel. You use cell cams to help give you an advantage. But man, it's hard to know how much weight or stock you put into that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I talk about this all the time at the shows. We've talked about at the consumer shows. We talk about this on the podcast. We talk about this to customers all the time. You know, and again, a lot of people don't agree with this. There's times a year that I hunt the wind, and there's times of year that I hunt the deer. Mm-hmm. And that maybe is too blanket of a statement because that makes it sound like I just throw all, you know, no pun intended. I just throw all caution to the wind and just go hunt. And that's not the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can attest this whole season. We hunt the wind.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're trying to go into the spots where we can get away with it and we can have the right wind on the right day on the right stand.
Yeah.
But there are times when we kind of push the limits and we bend the envelope or we hunt on the edge of a spot that might be a little iffy, trying to get that advantage. And that's what I think, that's for me what an Ozonics does.
Yeah.
But man, it just felt like we couldn't even pick the right spot.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just like we go here, they go there. It just, it was weird. And I don't think it was that we weren't getting in quietly. We weren't getting in without getting scented. It just felt like, it just didn't feel like we could make the right choice on the right day. Well, and sometimes that's the thing of like having multiple spots. You know, we had basically 2 public spots and we had 2 private spots, permission spots, 2 public spots. And we're trying to kind of juggle cameras and knowing where to go on what, on the days that we can pull away and go on the weekends or, you know, sneak out or whatever. And it's like, it was just really, really hard to know the right choice.
Yeah. And the thing that
it seemed like we just chose wrong.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that was, like, I don't want to say confusing, but just frustrating was we put ourselves in positions to see the deer. Yeah. I mean, we saw so many good bucks, but they just would never quite do the right thing. Like, I mean, I remember one morning, it was just a perfect morning. Just perfect, beautiful sunrise. Like, man, it just feels good. Sure enough, out steps just a really nice buck.
Yeah.
And he's walking right at us. I'm like,
Here we go.
There's no way that this does not work out. I mean, he was just out there just marching. Stop, eat a little bit. He's just coming right in. Gets to 100 yards maybe.
Yep.
Just turns right and just starts walking the other way.
Yeah, just turns right and just turns and walks the other way for no reason.
I'm like, what?
Or even when we saw Highbrow, remember that?
Same exact thing.
Oh, here he comes. Doe walks in front of him. Oh, okay. And then just turns and you're like, well, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. It just felt like, it's like if you're trying to get in the bubble,
yep.
We were like just pressing on the bubble. We were looking at the bubble, but we couldn't get in the bubble.
No.
And it just felt like the bubble just kept moving wherever we weren't.
Yeah. And then the morning that you went hunting with Jet and I went sat myself.
Yeah.
I called in the morning and out steps a nice 8-pointer, like pretty decent buck. One I would shoot for sure. And just his demeanor was like, he's coming to that sound no matter what.
Yep.
And so I went quiet with my calling. I'm like, he knows there's something down here. I'm not going to give up where I'm at. He's coming. I'm like, this is really good. Like, I'm really hopeful in this situation. He crosses the fence. He kind of starts coming. And then that other big 8-pointer that we had been seeing, that one with the kicker off his G2, the big 8.
Yep.
He comes out too. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, one of these deer has to come out and check out that noise.
Yeah.
And they're both standing up there and a farmer pulls into the field, about to disc up his field, and there they went. And obviously the farm's got to get his work done. It's like whatever, but it's like, man, it's just classic. Like, it's just typical for this year.
It just felt like the old adage: if you didn't have bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck at all.
Yeah, it just was like,
it just seemed like we just had a lot of bad luck.
Yeah,
I mean, we had a lot of good luck too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not that we didn't see deer and we didn't have opportunities and get close, but it just felt like we were so close to the top of the hill.
Yeah,
and we just couldn't.
It just couldn't quite come together.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. All right. Things you would change from 2023.
I think for me is I wish I would have just started out in the saddle.
Saddle standing.
Yeah. Yep. Just doing that all year.
Because it definitely felt like you could see how you didn't feel comfortable the first half, and then you felt way more comfortable the second half.
Yeah, and I think it helped both of us out, being more comfortable, just because
your uncomfortableness and insecurity and like nervousness, it rubs off on me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it made me nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not nervous up there.
Yeah.
But it made me nervous.
Yeah. And it helped.
And it makes me nervous, like, to think that something could go wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just with me, but like with you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so once we switched to that, doing the saddle standing, it just, every aspect of our hunts got better. We got set up way, way cleaner. I was way quicker up there just because I was comfortable with what I was doing.
It just felt like we hit our stride way better.
Yeah, exactly.
And it worked way better. Because again, I mean, hunting, you have a set of stuff that you're bringing with you. Your call, you're setting up screws here, or you're putting a strap up to hang stuff in your bow, and videoing has got its whole other set of things.
Yeah.
You've got your arm, you've got screws that you're trying to put in to hang stuff, you're trying to pull. Then you got to get your hunting stuff on.
Yeah, exactly.
Your clothes and get all your gear, and it's just a lot more.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that I would have changed that for you too.
Yeah.
Things that I would change, I mean, again, when you're hunting, there's two things you can't control. You can't control the weather and you can't control the animals. But I wish we would have gone to Idaho later. Now, again, hindsight's always 2020. But we got there and kind of right off the bat, it felt early.
Yeah.
It just felt early. And then we saw when we got to Montana, again, Montana's a different place.
Yeah.
Different elk, and it's not, it's a whole different thing. But in the same regard, you got to the second half of September and it just heated up.
Yeah.
And it just felt like we were there before they were really ready to go.
Yeah.
So I would
go early.
I would change that.
Yeah.
All right. What surprised you from 2023?
Kind of what we just talked about is just not closing the deal, really, just because it really just felt like Cole was saying, like, it just felt like we were just so close.
Felt like the whole season, it felt like we were just marching up this hill.
Yep.
And I didn't feel that like it's going to happen feeling in October, because it's still, you're just kind of anticipating. But man, we got past when we had that encounter with the big guy.
Yeah.
Then I kind of felt like, well, that might have been it. But I also felt like, man, we got so much season in front of us.
So much season. And all of our cameras are lighting up. There's
and
a bunch of good bucks everywhere.
Good spots. the harder you work, the luckier you get. It just felt like, even as we got towards the end, when we were still trying to really hunt hard, and it was even at that point, we're like, well, it was like on the weekend, like, well, do you just go hunt by yourself? And do we try to each get out by ourselves? And you're like, well, geez, we've both put in so much time together.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Yeah. Let's just,
even like with my brother-in-law, he asked me to go one day and I'm like, man, dude, he was like, oh, it's going to be kind of like a scouting mission. I'm like, dude, I'm not scouting right now. I'm hunting. Like, I have to stick with where I'm at.
Yeah.
That was when we had the other big guy on the other public piece when he all of a sudden showed it back on camera. I'm like,
big 33 daylight, 9 a.m.
Yeah, 9 a.m. daylights. Jeez, that was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I think that one thing I wanted to say about 2023, I think this is, I'm just throwing this in there. This is a new one. I'm just wild card.
All right. Hit it. Jesus.
That sounded like something fell.
Bunch of ruckus.
Yeah. Sorry, background noise that you probably aren't going to pick up with the mics, but we heard it.
Yeah.
All right, getting back to it. Wild card, rapid fire.
Go.
Funniest part from 2023. Funniest thing that happened. I 100% know what mine is. 100%. You want me to start? Because I
know what it's going to be, and it's going to make me angry.
I love it.
Don't even say it.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. And you know what's funny about that? It's really my number one and my number two. Because you already know what it's going to be. We have a spot that I call the middle spot, the middle stand. It's in the middle of the woods, and I've got a couple tree stands on there, and this tree, it kind of leans back a little bit, right? Yeah. It kind of leans. Well, the stand that I have in there is not a stand that adjusts at the main
platform doesn't.
Yep, the platform doesn't adjust very well. So it definitely kind of sits like up. When you're standing in it, feels like which is kind of nice because it kind of leans you back into the tree a little bit. Yeah. And it's kind of deceivingly high because you're kind of sitting on a hillside. So you look out in front of you, it doesn't look that bad, but you look up behind you and you're like, whoa, fella, it's a little bit higher. But it's not that high, but it's high enough. Well, Nick was adamant about wanting to try to set his tethered saddle in that spot, which is like, great. You know what I mean? And this is kind of in our hybrid trying to figuring
stuff out.
Yeah. This was the domino that fell in your height of I'm scared in a tree stand, insecurity, uncomfortableness. This is the climax of it. Has to have been. It definitely changed after this.
I think I'd kind of disagree with that because
really?
Yeah, I don't disagree with the point that it was the tipping point, but it wasn't the fact that I was scared of the heights at that point.
Oh.
I was fine with it, but it was the fact that I was trying to do the right thing and be like, I'll set it, and then it just didn't work out, and then the whole ripping the seat thing. But then at that point, I'm like, okay, this isn't working. Like, we need to do something different.
Yeah.
But I feel like I kind of got over the general height thing a little bit.
You did.
But
I think you did too.
But it was just like, I don't know.
It was just so I think you summed it up in a nutshell. The bullet points of that whole thing is that I had been doing most of the setting everything and then climbing down, then letting you climb up, or I was setting it so you could just climb up. But that day you were like, hey man, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, that sounds great. And and you're like, and you do have a lot more experience with saddles than I do. So it's like you had the tethered platform and you had the tethered saddle, and you're like, I'm going to set it. I'm like, okay, great. That sounds great. And so I was like, I'll just stay on the ground and I'll just wait because it's just easier than with us both kind of crowding each other up there. Like, I'll just sit on the ground. So I sat at the base of the tree on my backpack in the dark, and I was kind of sitting there for a little bit, just in quiet, trying to kind of just listen if I heard anything around us.
Yeah.
But it kind of was taking a while. So then I was like, oh, I'll just like get on my phone. So I was kind of playing on my phone. I kept kind of glancing up at you every once in a while. Well, then I finally got up there, and you didn't mean to, and I made it too big of a deal. You ripped the seat.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's a seat that like I can't unrip.
No,
you know what I mean? So it's like once it's ripped, it's ripped.
Yeah.
And there's only so much where it rips before it's not a seat anymore. It's just like there.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna have to figure out a way to like wire it or something.
Yeah.
But again, in the moment, I overreacted. That was my bad.
It's all right.
But that sprinkled on top of it. Then when it was time to get down, it was just like, okay, let's get out of here. And so, I got all my stuff together and got down. Well, then I just did what I did earlier. I just sat on my backpack, and now it's daylight, so I just get on my phone and I just start playing on my phone.
Yeah.
Well, and I think subliminally, body language wise, you didn't like me going like this.
You were just laughing
and looking up at you and then laughing, which I don't think anybody would.
Yeah.
But it was just like it wasn't that big of an evil laugh. It was more just like a giggle.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like this.
Yeah.
And then I could just tell you were getting more and more frustrated.
Yeah.
And more and more frustrated.
Yeah.
And more and more frustrated. So then finally, I think I stood up and I was like, gosh, what is going on up there? So I stand up and I kind of look up. All of a sudden, I see Nick punch the tree. He punched it, and he punched it hard. It wasn't like a little like it was like you full on you right hooked it like it was gonna make a difference.
Just need to let some anger out.
You did, and then you got down when you finally got down from the tree. You double flicked off the tree after that.
No, that was at the corner spot.
No, you double flicked off that spot too.
Maybe I did.
You did. You did that twice during the season.
Yeah. Because the corner spot was the spot that I was really, I will say it, I don't care. I was really scared of the corner spot.
Yeah.
That spot's kind of sketchy. Not sketchy, but like it's.
That tree, if you looked at it from the ground or above, you're like, how is the tree just not like tipping over?
Yeah,
because it's not straight.
No, it's not straight at all.
The tree goes up at like a 45-degree angle. So you're not even like really climbing up. You're kind of balancing across like a tree bridge,
Yeah.
And then it goes up.
Yeah.
Then you got to go around a branch and then you're to the spot. And then when you get up there, where it gets up to the top, that's literally where the tree canopy's out.
Yeah.
And then when you sit in the stands, it literally feels like you're just sitting on nothing. There's nothing. You look below, you're like, we're in a tree, but I don't see the tree.
It's a really weird
feeling. A bizarre feeling.
Yeah.
The way the tree just kind of sits, you don't even feel like you're sitting on a tree.
Yeah.
The stand is obviously connected to a tree, but when you look down or look, you don't see a tree anywhere.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It's a super weird feeling.
And yours is even worse than mine is.
Yeah. The way where the cameraman's stand hangs out. Yeah.
But that really was super funny. Yeah. That just, man, I laughed. And then you were getting mad that I was laughing, which made it even funnier. And then I was talking about you. I asked you if you wanted to punch the tree again.
And I did, but I didn't.
That was even funnier. Oh man.
Yeah, that was a really bad morning for me.
See, I feel like I know what your funny thing is from the season. I can't believe you're not mentioning this. And you're gonna say, "Oh yeah," which I am really jealous that I didn't get to go. You and Lance and Ryan going into town and buying that chair.
That was awesome. That was so much fun. Yep. You just gotta make do. It was so funny.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a really fun day. Yep.
The best part was that you got it on video.
Yeah. Yeah, we just we were gonna go to the the old pawn shop, but she was boarded up, closed. And then by the grace of God, there was a garage sale right there with just the most perfect seat.
That's so funny.
Oh, we were all laughing so hard.
The best part is if they probably kept that thing around.
Probably. It's actually a really good blind chair.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's actually a really good idea how it swivels.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually a bad idea.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah,
that was good.
Funny. All right, so I think we shift. We shift into 2024.
Yep.
This has been a longer discussion than I thought it was going to be.
That's all right.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift into 2024. Hunting resolutions for 2024. Go for it. What's your first hunting resolution for 2024?
I think now that we have kind of so many spots lined out, I think this spring and summer I really want to take a lot of time to do a ton of scouting and just learn more about it, put more pieces together. Just something that I really enjoy doing, and I think it could do some good just because we have a lot of spots. And if we can just figure out one more thing about each, then it's a win then,
Yep. The biggest thing I would say, and sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
What I would suggest, and I've talked about this before, is I would suggest that that hunting resolution not be summer scouting. I think your scouting should be March scouting.
Yeah.
Because like I think a lot of people, they try to go out in the summer and do all their scouting.
It's way too late.
And I get that if you're not from that area and you just can't make a trip or whatever. But if you've got your hunting spots, what I've learned is that as soon as the snow melts,
it's perfect.
It looks just like it did in November and December. And you can go out and you can see the really great trails. You can see the great scrapes. You can see the great rubs. And you can really start to get an idea of, because when it gets all green, it's really hard.
Super hard.
It's hard to track that stuff down.
Yeah.
It's hard to track it down unless you're right on top of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you go out in March, you can walk through the woods and be like, oh, there it is.
Well, that was, I think March
especially rub lines and just scrapes in general, to be able to just really know, like, oh, this is the one that they were really using.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that when I first scouted that public spot that you kind of told me about, that was in March.
Yeah, that was right
or
after.
It was in that time frame, but it was perfect. I mean, you could see every scrape really, really good. And but the fun thing about it in my eyes is it's like, okay, so I scouted it last year, figured some things out that you had already figured out. I mean, you basically told me to go where it is, but I confirmed it, put cameras out. It's where the deer were. But now you have that piece, and now you can kind of maybe put some time elsewhere.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know that's where they're going to be.
Well, I think there's spots that we want to go in and check out.
Yeah, exactly.
This spring that we probably won't spend as much time on some other spots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or parts of the properties that we have now that we're like, you know what, we really got to go look at that.
Go check this out.
Yeah, we need to go look at that.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for that, just to just grow your intel. And just see how that transitions into the fall. Just because it was super fun this year to scout and put cameras up and then watch that unfold throughout the season. So I'm really, really excited for that. I think that's going to be super fun.
I would say one of my kind of personal hunting resolution for like bow hunting is I really want to do more 3D shoots this summer. Mm-hmm. You know, you did a couple 3D shoots last summer. There's actually a really nice archery range here in town. And there's a lot of archery ranges, you know, in the surrounding areas, like with Minnesota and Wisconsin not too far away.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a couple 3D shoots.
Yeah.
Just to, again, it's like we shoot a lot in the spring and summer, and we've got the range right here in town, which is nice. But there's something different about 3D shooting and being able to create that pressure and to shoot at an animal. You know, I shoot at a 3D target and shooting them at odd yardages where it's not like you're picking, there's somebody else that's setting it all up. Some of those shots get real tight.
Oh, yeah.
You know, tight through a tree and things like that. They get kind of fun. I think that'll be really fun to do that. I think just helps kind of hone your skill. So I think doing a couple 3D shoots is what I'm going to really try to do this summer.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, I think I'm going to try and do the same too. Oh, I know I will. And
because it's like, we all get pretty good at shooting 20, 30, 40 yards on our pins. Yeah. But what about when he's at 24 or when he's about at 27?
Exactly.
You know, or when he's about at 33 or 38 or 35.
Yeah.
It's like those odd numbers are what you find they do a lot at 3D shoots.
Yeah.
And another thing about it, and I think you experience this with that one day that
morning.
Is like we both shoot multi-pin sights, right? A 3-pin sight. There could be a whole other discussion about a single pin, a double pin, a 3-pin, a 5-pin, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
When you're shooting at a block target or you're shooting at your range and you're shooting a flat target and you're aiming at a dot, that is much different than when you're aiming at a deer.
Yeah.
That's dimensional, right? It's 3-dimensional. It's not just a flat surface.
Yep.
And even the sight window, what that looks like when you're at full draw and you're looking at a target compared to when you're looking at a deer and you're trying to pick a spot on a deer that doesn't have a dot.
Right.
You know, I think that you kind of experienced that with
100%.
It was a little bit of a mind blow.
Yeah.
You know, you were like you felt like from what you've described, it just felt very like, whoa, a little bit out of your element.
Yeah, 100%.
You spent a lot of time shooting at targets, but not a lot of time shooting at deer.
Yeah.
And so I think that 3D shoots can be kind of a way to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's great camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's cool to get to meet other people that like to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it was super fun last year.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun this summer.
Oh, 100%.
Yep. All right. I'm going to go next.
Okay.
My other hunting resolution for 2024 is to get bow, jet, and turkeys this spring. Especially Bobo.
Bobo for sure.
Because she has hunted she's hunted harder than Jet. Mm-hmm. Last year she hunted really hard.
Yeah.
And it just never worked out. Mm-hmm. Every time we took her, we couldn't get her even in front of one.
Yeah.
It was just like, give me a break. Mm-hmm. And she wants to go so bad, and I want to get her a turkey so bad.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
And I'm going to have to really have a serious sit down talk with Jet because he is going to be not happy.
Old Jet.
I might have to make you be the guide for Jet, and I'll take Bo.
I'll do that. Ask for a slate call for Christmas. So.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
No, but I'll probably go buy one here soon and start practicing.
But I am excited for spring turkey hunting because I do really want to get Bo a turkey. I'd like to get Jet another turkey or two, and then I really want to get you a turkey. I want to get you a turkey with your bow. The biggest thing my biggest reservation with that is that just seeing how you reacted on number 9 at 100 some yards, and I know deer aren't white-tailed. I know you're a white-tailed nut, but you're starting to drink the Kool-Aid of the turkey thing, especially after last spring, and you do talk about it a lot, more than I do. I just think that you really need to wrap your mind around when one just comes screaming in, full strut.
Oh, it's going to be really bad.
Doing his song and dance, that you don't come unraveled. Is there such thing as turkey fever? I guess we're going to find out.
Oh, there is. There is for sure.
Oh, my goodness. I think you are I'm afraid you're going to be a basket case.
It's going to be awesome.
It will be awesome.
I seriously can't wait.
Oh, man. That's going to be
so fun.
That is going to be a good day.
Yeah.
But no, turkey season will be really fun. I'm really excited. And, dude, you might have to just show them. Let's see it. Oh. You've got something going on right now. Nick is growing a mullet now until he kills a turkey. The back, let me see the side. Oh, yeah, that is getting to be.
It's getting greasy.
Did you trim the top?
No.
Did you trim up the side?
Nope.
Oh, man. So I have already committed that I am going to get you a real barbershop haircut with Tip the Barber just down the way here. I'm going to pay for it we're going to get it cut into a legit mullet. Like we're talking shelves on the side and everything. Yeah. Party in the back, business in the front. It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
But
the issue is if I don't shoot one,
you have to grow till the next year.
If I don't shoot a turkey with my bow, I have to keep growing it out, which is an issue because I got a bunch of weddings coming up. I'm in one.
Dude, girls, there's 2 things chicks dig: scars and mullets. Bruises heal. Chicks dig scars, and they dig mullets. I'm telling you.
We'll see what happens.
Dude, you just got to be confident with it, man. You just got to rock it. What'd you tell me the other day you were saying your pickup line is? Shorty, you're interesting.
Yeah, then they're going to look at you. Your hair is interesting.
Yeah, they are. I can't say it like you can say it.
Shorty, you interesting.
See, there you go. See, I don't know. Maybe that'll work. I definitely think the mullet's going to work. And that sweatshirt. I mean, you got to... All right, let's get back to it here. All right, so that's my other news. I've got 3. Oh, I got 4, but there's 2 of mine. What's one of yours?
Shoot my first turkey.
There you go. Yep.
So that'll be a quick one. The next one is, first off, film Cole shoot a big buck next year. Yeah. Second off, me shoot a big buck next year.
I think the resolution for the both of us is shoot 2 big bucks next year.
2 big bucks.
Yep. Filming, you film me, I film you.
Yep.
Shoot 2 big bucks on camera.
I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Oh, man. It's going to happen. I know it is.
I just feel like with the amount of time that we put in this year and the amount of experience and the kind of the really starting to click on all cylinders on really understanding how each of us are and getting in quiet and knowing what we're doing and just really honing in on some of these spots with what we know this year, having that go into next year, man, I would not want to be a big buck out there if I were him. I'm telling you, I would relocate.
Yeah. Head to Minnesota.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude, it could get interesting.
It could get really nutty. It's just so, I got too many hobbies. So I'm so excited for turkey hunting, but at the same time, I'm so excited for deer hunting. I'm so excited for fishing. I'm going to bring the boat down.
You got ice fishing coming up.
If we could ever get ice.
Some cold weather.
I just about cut a check on a $1,000 ice shack today.
You did?
No.
Oh. You almost got to check at Fleet Farm the other day. I thought you almost impulse bought that bad boy. It was only a saving of like $40, but you saw discontinued last year's display, and it
well, the thing that's nice about
tractor beaming you in.
Well, the thing that's nice about that last year display, that means that it's been used, it's worked in from customers and stuff. So that's why I like that one. It's better than buying new.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm really interested to see what ice shack you end up with, because there's been a lot of discussion about ice shacks here in the last 2 weeks.
Talking to Dad about that this morning. And at the end of it, I go, I'm probably just going to end up with not getting one.
Dude, we're not going to go ice fishing without a shack. We need a shack.
I know.
We're going to end up just taking my Primos blind out there.
Eh? No, I know. No, yeah. I'm going to get something probably.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I have is not trying to be so funny. This is more serious. One of my hunting resolutions for next year is to be more patient. I got more patient as the season went on. Didn't I? I felt like
you did 100%, but it was because I got better too.
Yeah, but I still need to be more patient.
Yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, I feel guilty for that
one. Well, here's what I feel like. I feel like at the beginning you tested my patience, then I passed the test and I became more patient.
Yeah,
and now I just need to continue.
Everybody watching this probably thinks that I'm just an absolute idiot head case.
Oh,
golly.
No, but see, that's the thing. But I think I could also say I need to be more patient. I need to be a little bit more understanding, a little bit more open-minded.
Yeah.
Because I fall in the trap of, because inherently I just want to go hunting.
Yeah.
And so, and for a lot of these years, it's not, I've just been hunting. I don't,
yeah.
I just go hunting. And, if I was hunting with anybody else, it was just like with Jet here in the last couple of years.
Right.
And even that, it's just kind of picking the right times when it's warm and he can handle it.
Yep.
The cold and everything else. So this year has been quite an adjustment.
Oh, yeah.
Because filming is really fun, but it is a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
It's a lot of work on the way in. It's a lot of work setting up. It's a lot of work tearing down. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I think that I realized.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. You got any more on the resolutions?
Yeah, I got like 7 more. I'll skip a couple, but I think one for me is just be more organized.
Yeah.
Even my house just came to be a disaster.
Nick's nickname, he's got all these Wisconsin nicknames that him and his uncles and cousins come up with all these crazy nicknames. What was the new one Charlie got a new one the other day?
Willie did.
Willie?
Scab.
Scab. Your nickname makes me feel uncomfortable. Binky? I don't like that. Sounds like a little kid's blanket.
Binky Simonson.
Binky. But my nickname for you is Hot Mess. Yeah. You inherently, there's something. It's like you just can't help but be a little bit of a hot mess.
I've been working on it though. It's not going very good. But
no, listen. It must not be going very good, because I know it's going good when you let me come up into your apartment.
It's been like 4 months.
You haven't let me in your apartment in like 4 months, because you're like the one day I was like, hey, I'll just come up, and you're like, nope, can't let you do it. And then the last time you did, you had to have a 5-minute head start. Bo and I came by to just surprise you, and you wouldn't even let us in.
That is true.
You came to the door and said, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah, I did the old, hang on a second.
That's so terrible. So,
it is bad. I need to do better at that.
And
I don't know if I need to go to therapy or something.
No, I've told you before, and I don't know what's going to make it stick, but it's just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I know.
It's like all you have to do is when you're at your desk and you eat your lunch, just throw it in the garbage.
That's what I do.
Don't leave it on your desk. Or when the garbage gets full, don't try to stack it up like a magical pyramid. Go throw it in the garbage can. Or if you're at your house, if you make food, just like clean up right there while the food is cooking.
It's not even so much that. It's more so hunting gear. I just have hunting gear just scattered everywhere.
You rubbed off on me a little bit in the back of my truck.
Oh my gosh, my truck is so bad.
My backseat of my truck during November, I didn't realize it was that bad. And then I saw my brother-in-law. He saw my backseat. He's like, are you living in here? And I was like, yeah. I had everything in there. my back seat became where all my hunting stuff was. I knew right where it was. I was like, oh, I need that paracord rope for an extra bow rope. Oh, right there in the back under the seat.
Yeah.
I even got I even got this plastic organizer that I had in my basement. I put it in my truck and I had smart arms in one, tree hooks in another. It was bad.
Well, see, that's the issue. Typically during deer season, that's where I keep all my hunting stuff in my truck.
Yeah.
Well, this year, I was always just hopping in your truck.
Yep.
And so everything was just in my living room, just everywhere.
I can imagine how bad it was. Oh, because I've seen how bad your truck gets. Like when we go to lunch, I just assume that I have to drive because there's no way for me to fit in your truck because it's like you're like.
I've been driving the last 2 weeks though.
Hoarder.
Driving the last 2 weeks.
You have been driving recently. All right. Let's keep going.
I just keep. I love this podcast with all my heart, but sometimes I hate it.
I don't mean to pile it on.
That's fine. Oh. I need it. It's good for me.
Oh, this is a non-related to this discussion, but one of the things, my resolutions that I'm really been working on a lot here recently, and it's kind of one that I think everybody seems like they do at resolution time is really try to cut some weight.
Yep.
Like just trying to lose some weight because I'm, just don't need to be carrying it in the mountains and everything else. And I'm really, really cutting weight in all the gear that I bring. I've really been deep diving into that.
Yeah.
I mean, the old adage is ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain.
Yeah. And
I'm really, really trying to look at everything: tent, sleeping bag, pack,
food.
Food. I carried a 3-panel solar panel last year. I think I'm going to carry a 2-panel.
Yeah.
It saves me like 10 ounces.
Right.
It's like everything I'm just going through is like, oh, is it worth spending this much money to save 4 ounces here? And but it's like, but 4 ounces and 4 ounces and 4 ounces and 4 ounces is a pound.
Yeah.
So 16 ounces a pound if you didn't know.
Yeah.
But
I did know that.
Okay. But yeah, so
thanks.
So I'm just trying to really cut some weight out of gear.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Which is quite
it's a process for sure.
Well, you got to weigh it all and go, okay, is there better options or what should I do different?
Yeah.
A lot of it I feel like is pretty honed in.
Yeah.
But
that brings me back. This is way off topic. That brings me back to when we flew to Montana and we were trying to figure out bags and stuff. And I was so stressed out because Cole dropped me off at the airport. He dropped me off and then he went and parked his truck and he's like, he's like, you separate everything out so they're all under 50 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, this is going to be horrible. So I'm just dripping sweat. But I got her, though. I had it all dialed in by the time we got back.
Yeah, I could tell that was stressing you out.
Yeah, it was. But I was just like this. Go weigh it. Okay, 51.2.
Yeah.
I got it. So.
Yep. And we, for not knowing Scott and Buddy weren't really clear about where we were going to be staying until like right at the last minute. Oh, you're staying in Walton. I was like, oh, okay. Like with camera gear and batteries and trying to charge stuff. Like awesome.
Yeah.
But it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So next one is looking ahead at 2024. What are you excited about?
I'm just excited to have another year in Iowa.
Yeah.
I really like it here, and I like the hunting, the whole hunting opportunity and stuff like that is really cool. Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm excited to, get cams out again, see what's showing up, and yeah, I'm just excited for all of it, really.
Yeah, I feel like this year you were just kind of, taking it as it was coming,
Yeah.
And so it's like, you started Ozonics in like March.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think
Iowa Deer Classic, was it? Or was it after the Iowa Deer Classic?
I think my official start date was like February 27th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, beginning of March.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's like all of a sudden turkey season kind of happened, and then you were moving into your apartment, and then the summer kind of happened, and then it was like a little bit of scouting, and then trying to do some stuff, and then it was fall.
Yeah, it was it's crazy. Like I've been here for almost a year, and it feels like I'm just now starting to kind of like really settle in.
That's what I'm saying.
It's kind of
weird. That's what I'm trying to say. Felt like you're definitely starting to settle in.
Yeah.
So. And it's thinking about ice fishing and turkey hunting this spring and scouting, and then I mean it's crazy, dude. Time goes by.
Oh, before we know it, we're going to be turkey hunting.
I mean, it literally felt like we were just at the Harrisburg.
It does, dude.
Show,
it's crazy.
And now it was about a year ago right now
Yeah,
that you interviewed.
Yeah, it was. It was right after Christmas when I met you.
It was between Christmas and New Year's, wasn't it?
I think so. Either that or before Christmas.
Maybe it was before Christmas.
Yeah. It was right in this time frame.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's crazy. That literally feels like it happened 2 weeks ago. It's really weird.
Yeah. All right, so things that I'm excited about. I'm really excited about Alaska Doll Sheep again.
Yep.
That's really getting me fired up.
Yep.
Mon asked me to come back, so that's awesome. So
that's great.
So he's trying to get things worked out and dialed in, and that's nice to know.
Yep.
And so getting that squared away, and then the other thing that I'm really excited about that I try not to think about too much because I just start counting down the days is I ordered and am having built a custom rifle.
It's pretty sweet.
That I'm kind of freaking out about. Yep. So
it's going to be really cool.
Yep. So part of the deal with an assistant guide license in Alaska is, you don't hope that this doesn't happen, but it can happen. A couple things that you hope that don't happen that can happen. One, you can run into a bear, and so you have to be ready for that, just to protect yourself and, not get scratched up or eaten, And then in the, unfortunate circumstance that a guy shoots a sheep and he wounds it and he, can't get it killed, it's the guy's responsibility to shoot too.
Right.
And so try not to have to do that. But
yeah.
But anyway, so with that said, like I've been actually thinking about this rifle build before I've known you. I mean, I've been talking about it for a year.
Yeah, you talk about it a lot.
Yeah. Well, and it's I'll tell you what, this could be a whole nother podcast about just, it is really, really interesting, the advancements and the innovation I think that's happening on the rifle side of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a passionate bow hunter, and that's really my bread and butter, and that's what I love to hunt with my bow. But I actually have really found an interest and a fire with rifles as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially in Iowa, the rifles isn't a big thing, right? We don't have any rifle hunting here, except if you're like doing predator hunting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With some of the law changes in the last couple of years, it's become more of a thing.
Yeah.
And again, like I saw a lot of rifle hunting when I was out in Colorado guiding, but it's just the last year I've really dove into just rifles in general and ultralight rifles and chassised rifles and shorter barreled rifles and
there's a lot to it.
Actions and titanium actions and all sorts of different stuff, and it's just really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll probably do a podcast on it.
Oh man, it's really.
I think
interesting.
It could be a good talk.
There is a lot. There is a lot there.
Yeah,
it is really, really crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to get it. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I'm excited to shoot that thing and just to have it.
Yeah, it'll be sweet.
Yep. It's going to be all black.
Blacked out, baby.
It's going to be awesome.
Come on, huh?
It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be sweet.
But I'll tell you what, that's pretty much about it. Do you have anything else?
Yeah,
that you're
excited
about? I didn't even ask you what you're excited about. I'm sorry.
Well, the other year in Iowa.
Oh, yeah, you did say that. I'm sorry.
But I got one more.
Okay.
I'm really excited to, continue to learn as not only an outdoorsman, bow hunter, but on the videography side, producing side, we got some big things coming up. Coming down the pipeline, which is it's really gonna test me on the producing side, and I'm really, really excited to start tackling it.
Yep.
Should I explain it?
We better just wait.
Okay.
We better just keep it on the tip of your tongue. Let's just wait. But the thing I'll say with that too is to piggyback off of that. I'm excited for you from that perspective too, on just because I think some of the things that we are going to be doing are going to really challenge you as a producer.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you grow and get better at it.
Yeah.
Is it takes experience and it takes a lot of this, I think, from a videography perspective and a producing perspective is kind of trial by fire.
Yeah. 100%.
And, but that's the thing I think with that as well, I'm excited about is just the content that I think we're going to be producing this next year.
Yeah.
Just knowing what we did this year.
Yeah.
And knowing and looking at this podcast as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like 35-ish episodes in on this thing. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is.
We've
wild.
sat at this table or almost all of them been here talking about hunting, ozonics, and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really exciting, and I'm excited to see where the content creation, where the producing, where the podcast, where Ozonics, Killerwinds, and Ozonics in general, where this is going to go.
Yeah.
And I think when we started this whole thing, and the idea behind it was to try to have an opportunity to just be able to share who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, as a company, as a whole, as people, as hunters, you know, with other hunters, you know, and, you know, and people that really love to use Ozonics.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and just to help them understand and get to know who we are.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what we've done.
Yeah,
and I think it's been really, really fun. And not only that, but just to be able to share in that experience as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and hopefully maybe have something that somebody's going to watch and get a laugh out of, or watch and learn something, or listen or watch and make them think a little differently about something, and make them think about how they do things.
Yeah.
Help them become a better hunter.
Right.
You know, so it's been really fun.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see how, with the things that are coming down the pipe, how it turns out.
Yep. 2023 was a really cool year.
Yeah.
A lot of firsts, a lot of great memories, a lot of great experiences. And I think 2024 is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's almost like in 2023, we knew we had a car, and we were just trying to figure out how to get it tuned right, and to get it to kind of get around the track and do a good lap.
Yep.
Figured that out.
Yep.
Now we're going to press on the gas.
Yeah, exactly. So be ready.
Yeah. Be ready.
It's going to be fun. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Big year ahead of us.
I think that's a great way to end it.
I think so too.
All right. Another one in the book, Ozonics Killerwinds podcast. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
Thanks for listening. Hey, happy 2024.
Yep. I hope you guys have the best year ever.
Yep. I hope you have a great year. I hope that it all works out.
Yep.
It's a big year in general. We got a lot going on. Not trying to get political, but it's an election year. Just saying, there's a lot going on in the world. I think it's going to be a big year.
Yep.
All right. Over and out.
All right. See you next week.